Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Janice, the Boundaries Coach. So I haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm back for my Boundary Makers interview. And what a great way to kick off this season is talking to a fellow coach whom I adore named Rashidat Odeyemi. She's a fellow coach who specializes in hustle culture, soft life, and being just that wonderful strategist that she is. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. I'll be back at the end.
Hey, yes. So I am Rashidat. I call myself your dream strategist because I'm all about helping us get to those dreams where we live our soft life, where we love the things that we do, where we work hard, but it's not at the sacrifice of being our fullest self. So I help us plan our joy like we plan our success, because we put a lot of time into that, but not nearly as much time to plan our joy. And the culmination of that is that we get rid of burnout and we finally live our soft life. I love helping people get to that point where they're like, yes, boo. And I'm like, yes, that rested queen life. That's what I'm about.
Yes, that's what it's all about. And of course, my platform, my community is all about boundaries. And what you do as well parrots that as well. And we're both coaches and it's all about boundaries anyway. And I always like to tell people like boundaries is like a feeling. It may be like that's a big word a lot of people use around a lot now. Sometimes people are like, I don't know what boundaries are. Like, but how do you feel in the moment? How do you feel? It's blurry or whatever it is. So how do you incorporate? Well, first of all, let me take that back before I ask you that. How did you get to be what you're doing right now? How did that start?
I had bad boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all our first client, right? I always say that. I'm my own first client.
For sure. And my boundaries were really bad with work specifically, because as a child, every time I did something well, I was a mature, or you're such a mature child, or you always show up so well for other people, or, like it was anytime, look, let me stop that. Anytime that I did something well, it was generally a positive reinforcement of me working harder rather than actually being a child or being present in who I am, or really allowing myself to take care of my own needs. And you take those things from a kid into adulthood and you think they're normal. And then you fall flat on your face and you're like, what the heck? And then you realize, oh, there were some habits that I had to help me survive and cope as I was growing up that no one ever told me weren't the healthiest thing that I should be doing. And once I figured that out, it sent me on a journey to figure out how to do it better. Specifically, there's so many things, but specifically around my relationship with work.
How did having boundaries impact your profession, or not having boundaries impact your profession?
Yes. I'm going to lovingly say that at this point in my life, I'm a recovering workaholic. Yay. But girl, I was not that before. And I think that's the core of what our relationship is with work, because since it's tied, and especially around hustle culture, it really ties it into, this is your mode of survival, is to work. And we've always heard, if you work harder, then you'll get further along, or you'll finally get what you want, even though we've seen to the contrary of that.
Yes.
But what it does, it creates that culture of, oh, well, then if something is not happening the way I want or at the speed that I want, then the answer must be that I'm not working hard enough, and therefore I need to just do more. And so we do it in our work at our jobs. We think that, okay, my boss didn't see me, my boss didn't congratulate or recognize me for XYZ thing. So now I just need to do more so that they recognize me next time. But the hard thing of what actually happens is they just, instead of recognizing, they just expect that, oh, that's just her new normal. And now you're in a cycle of doing that all the time. And if you ever pull back, it's like, well, wait, why aren't you doing the things that you were doing before? And that was a big part of my own story. Instead of learning to pat myself on the back and talk myself up and say, hey, actually amazing what I did. Here, let me show you. Which is what we should be doing, because that's what White Chad is doing, and he's barely doing anything, but he's talking himself up all the time, right? Instead of learning that skill, I would do more. And then I got to the point where I was like, man, I am working my bleep off. I don't know if you take consequences.
Right.
So I'm working super, super hard. And I'm doing everything I know to do to get ahead. And yet I feel more empty. I feel less fulfilled. I feel like all the things that I actually want, it seems like they're even further away the harder that I work. So how do I do this differently? And it really came down to, I had to reposition what is the actual purpose of work in my life and create boundaries around that. Because if the things that I want in my life, if I can't do because I'm so busy working, that's already a problem right there. That's already a boundary issue right there. Because if you have to wait, if you have to put what you want on hold in order to get it, then you're already making what you want impossible to get. We put so much pressure on ourselves to show up above and beyond that we don't leave enough space for us to actually be human. And I have to decide, your girl is tired of being superhuman. I don't want that cape anymore. I'm ready to take it off and burn it. And that's where boundaries were like, oh, well, then I need some boundaries to keep myself from continuing to do that.
So how do you, if someone comes to you, if a potential client comes to you, I just kind of wanted to break it up a little bit, and they are experiencing hustle culture, how do you talk to them first, like initially? Because some people, I mean, we're just in it. So they just come to I know clients coming to me like, I don't know, this is all I know.
Right.
So how do you what's the first step?
Yes. So I actually created an assessment because 9 times out of 10, you're coming to me and you're so in the thick of surviving that you're like, girl, I can't even imagine. Like, I know I want something different, but I can't even imagine what that looks like. And I get it. Like, when I decided that I wanted to do something different and I started trying to dream, it seemed like all of my dreams had dried up. It was like I had a gland and that thing wasn't getting no juices back there, and I needed to reinvigorate it. And so I start with, how can I help you reinvigorate it? Well, part of it is having a really clear understanding of where you are today. From what I do in my practice, there are 3 things that you need to really receive. I'm going to say receive the soft life, because in some parts we think we need to like bulldoze our way into it, but a lot of times it's already there. You just ain't allowed yourself to receive it. So 3 things you need to receive it. Okay. So that's vision, life systems, and support. And we too busy doing the next thing. So we don't really allow ourselves to have vision. Again, we're so busy on that circle, life systems. We got work systems, but we don't have life systems. And then support, we too busy trying to do it on our own. So we go through that assessment and get an idea of where you are in that. And then we start making a plan. Okay, what are the first things that we want to address? And depending on, how much time and ready to be present. This is an evolution. I'm not pushing anybody to, this is not something that happens overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me. So we dig into 1 or 2 things based on, the tier that they decide. And then we go deeper from there. In future times of working together.
Rest is so underrated.
Yeah.
It's so underrated. How do you teach people how to rest? How do you assess what kind of rest they need?
Yeah.
and then advise them advise them on how to get it.
Yes. So I do like a tip in the water, tip your toe in the water session every Friday where we get together. It's called Freedom Fridays. It's a live stream where we talk about winding down for the weekend and also planning rest for the next week. And one of those worksheets that I do is really about, hey, here's 30 plus different activities that you might have never tried that you can try to see if this is a good restful activity for you. And then to really challenge ourselves, you are extremely intentional with work, so intentional that you literally schedule it in your day. If you want to have rest, you need to be just as intentional. So let's schedule rest in your calendar. And so it's this practice that we start doing, and again, this is something that I do as a free live stream on YouTube. So to get people started, because if they can start doing that when they're ready to do the assessment and to get into to sessions with me, then we can build on that. Because now you start getting a dopamine hit. You're like, oh, that was a good 5 minutes. I like that. Let me do that again. And then that builds.
Yes.
And it also helps you take rest out of its box. Sometimes we think rest is just about sleeping, but there's creative rest, there's spiritual rest, there's fun. There's so many different parts of rest that we really, again, like you said, what's restful for me might not be restful for you, but also what's restful at this moment might not be restful tomorrow. I might need to do something different. So, another one of the questions that you asked were, how do you figure that out? I actually just added this maybe in the last 3 months because someone on the live stream asked me she was looking for, like, you need X amount of time of rest in order to feel rested. And I was like, I could kind of give you a little bit of an equation. Like, for everything that you feel negative about, you probably need at least 3 hits of joy to counteract that. But then I took it a little deeper. I said, why don't we just actually do a body scan? Because you're trying to think your way into it. So let's just pause and do a body scan and ask our body, because our body is going to tell you. It's the deeper connection into us that we've been told to turn that off, you know? So we sit and we do a body scan and we're asking ourselves the whole time, what kind of rest do I need in the next week? And we only do it by week. We're not trying to do it for 3 months because that's too much. Like, you're already in survival mode. Let's just get to the week.
Yes.
Okay. Let's get to the
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Yes. So then we do that body scan. And then when your body says you need to stretch more, or you need to take a walk every day, or you need 5 minutes to just stare at that blank wall. Okay, great. Now, how many times a week should we do that body? Let's try with just one time. If we could just do one time, that would set us up.
Why do you think people are afraid to listen to their bodies? Like, why do you think like women are just so afraid to listen to it? Why do you think that?
I think we've been taught to shut it down. I also think, I will say for me, I had gotten so used to or so trained to the voices in my head that I couldn't even really hear my body, let alone like be able to respect what it was trying to tell me, you know? So I think it's really, it's just, I think it's become a divergence. And like, I don't know that, I think that for one, medical and some of the other professionals that we have that are supposed to serve us have said things that have made us be scared of what our body is telling us. And because they don't know how to react to their own body, they make us scared to listen to our own body. And then
Right.
we just end
Oh
up on a
yeah.
spiral, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And before we know it, we shut down the voice of our body and really some of the deeper parts of us. And then we're disconnected and not really sure how to get reconnected. And then getting reconnected is like, oh, like it's almost like when you're trying to reconnect with a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, you're like, am I actually going to be able to do this? Can I really hear? Like, you have all of these
Yes.
insecurities and fears that come up. And then, okay, well, how do I do this? And how do I overcome it? And not only that, it's just all happening within us, you know? So it's like, man, I don't even know how to do this. And I think that's the beautiful thing of working with a coach, working with a guide, because we can, for one, give you permission, remind you of the permission that you have of all of the different feelings and things that you're going through. For one, let's
Yes.
normalize that. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because
Yes.
just normalizing it takes away a lot of the fear. And then giving you some of the initial questions, because you haven't had to have this conversation with your body in a long time. And you're like, I don't even know what to ask. Here are some things to ask. Here are some ways to listen. Here are some ways to respond. Here are some ways to honor, and giving you, again, that practicality and how we do it and how you do it, so that you don't have to feel lost in connecting to a deeper part of ourselves.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Here's the thing. I get really frustrated when I see the influencers that are like, "Ugh,
You're right.
soft life." um, because they really just make it about, I got a rich husband that pays for all my bills. And if you don't got that, boo, you don't get to have this life. Like,
Mhm.
I don't agree with that. That it makes it really inaccessible to a lot of people. And I don't really believe that's how this started. Um, Instead, I really believe that soft life is a mindset that transitions into being our life, where we decide those things like, I have to work 10 times harder. We stop believing that stuff. We stop believing that the only way for us to succeed is for us to work ourselves to death. We stop believing that I have to burn myself out, or that I have to wait until retirement in order to live a life that I love. And instead, we start believing that, wait, the things that I actually really care about, I might not be able to live them to maybe the fullest extent, but I could start doing those things now if I choose them now. And once we make space for that, then it's like, I don't have to wait for me to um travel the world. Or I don't have to wait. I don't even have to leave my job. I just got to prioritize it in my budget, cuz another thing too is like, we all think we got to quit our job and become a beach bum. Well, that's not
Right.
it either.
No. Start a business that we don't know how to. Yeah. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Not everybody needs to start a business. You can live
Thank
your soft
you.
life right now as a corporate professional, right
Thank you.
now as an entrepreneur, or all of those things. But it takes a shift in your mindset to recognize, I just need to do life different, where I prioritize living my life over working it away. And that is what I believe the soft life is. Like, your softest life is, I wake up in the morning and I choose to live.
So, what is your assessment? I know you talked about it briefly before, but like, what is it that you want people to get out of doing the soft life assessment?
So when you come out of the soft life assessment, first of all, it's 9 questions. It is so it's really quick, really easy. And what you get is, I make this report. So you do your responses, it sends me your responses, and I go through and I look at the responses that you gave me. And what it's going to do is, it's going to give you a red, green, yellow rating based on the 9 steps of building those 3 things that I talked about, which were vision, life systems, and support. And so, okay, for vision, maybe you're on a yellow rating, or maybe for systems you're on a red rating, or maybe on support you might be on a green rating. But from those ratings, then you're going to have an understanding of where you are. And I'm also going to give you, here is what's missing. Here's how you can start adding those things into your life. And it gives you the practicality. Again, I'm always back to practicality. what are some action steps that I can start today? Between that, and you can start, this is regardless of whether you work with me or not, this gives you a report that allows you to say, I can go and look at some of her content and start getting some immediate things. And then if you're ready, like, to really jump in and make this the most streamlined, simplest process, then we could talk about what it looks like to work together and like really do intensive work to get you to where you want to be. But this assessment is really the first step of understanding, where am I at today and what steps can I start taking? Because, like I said, our soft life is accessible. And the other beautiful thing about it being accessible, for one, we say I'm enough, but a lot of times we don't actually know what enough is. This is going to help you decide, what is enough for me? What does enough look like for me? And then once you do that, okay, how do I get the rest of the things that I'm not quite there yet? And that it simplifies it from being this intangible thing that is like the ether that I can't touch, to know this is something I can actually touch. Um, I would say, first of all, your nervousness is normal. Like when you go into a relationship, because boundaries are so much around relationships, even when it's even just a relationship with yourself, it's still a relationship. Um, and so when you change the dynamic of that relationship, it is going to feel a little uncomfortable. I would say recognize that uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. 9 times out of 10, you're probably doing exactly what you need to be doing. If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it.
Right.
you know? So understand that the growth is going to be a little uncomfortable. And yet, that's the whole reason why you have a coach there to help support you through it. So, in those times when you're feeling like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, or is it supposed to be this hard, or man, it can't be this hard. Those are the times when you lean back into your coach and you say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Can you give me another perspective on that? How can I lean into this? How can I do this better? I feel myself pulling away. I want to run. That's okay. You're in fight, flight, or freeze. Like, we know those things. We can help you process those things. So lean into your support and allow us to guide you through it.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed that interview, because Rashidat dropped some lovely gems. But one in particular I loved, because I always hear it, is the soft life. People say this, people say about the soft life, and people do all this. But the soft life is about you living it to the fullest, however you deem fit. To find out more about Rashidat, go down to my description box, and all the information about her, where to connect, how to get in touch with her will be all there. Follow her on all the social platforms and give her some love and tell her that I sent you. I'll be talking to a lot more boundary makers within the coming months. So don't forget to follow this channel so you don't miss out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.